Next question. Alexandra. Podcast topic / question for you guys. Right. What are your thoughts on dogs ringing a bell to go outside? Recently, I've been seeing a correlation between owners that struggle with behavioral problems and their dog using a bell. I don't know if it's the bell itself or just that personality type of those owners. I encourage them to remove the bell and create a structure for the dog. I personally do not want my dog telling me what to do and never train dogs to do it or felt the need to. I'm curious if you noticed a similar pattern or not. Okay, there's 2 questions. One question on thoughts on dogs ringing a bell to go outside. The second part of the question is the correlation between the owners that struggle with behavior problems and the dog using a bell. Okay, this is gray. What behavior problems are you talking about? Are you talking behavior problems like the dog is having accidents and the correlation between the bell? Yeah. Or are you talking behavioral problems like just like, I don't know, jumping and other things with it? I'm assuming the latter is the case because she mentioned she doesn't want to teach a dog to tell us what to do. Yeah. Which, listen, I would agree with her most of the time with that. I think that she's probably reading into this a little too much, though, as far as the correlation between the two. Because here's the thing. I think the bell, as far as teaching the dog to go outside using a bell, is a very effective thing, right?
Yeah.
Is a clear way for our dog to tell us a specific thing, right? It tells us, hey, I would like to go outside. Now, whether that means that they need to go to the bathroom or not, whatever, you could argue that one all day long, but they're telling us that they need to go outside.
Yep.
I don't have a problem with it.
No.
Right? Our dogs do this all the time. Is that rain? You hear that?
Yeah.
That's loud.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was a huge cloud when I was coming in.
It's coming down out there. Thanks. Water my plants, please. So here's the thing. Our dog is going to tell us one way or another, right? Whether it's a bell or whether it's they sit by the door or whether it's they get antsy and start walking around, our dog knows that they can do certain things to let us know when they need to go to the bathroom.
Yep.
Right? It inevitably, there is going to be times where a dog tells us things and we have to respond to it. That is one of the number one situations. Right? So I think you're looking a little too much into that. I don't see a correlation between it and anything else. Now, my problem with the bell for most owners is that most owners will use it as an excuse to not need to let their dog out very frequently, not need to create disciplined structure for when and how they let the dog outside. And I will see a correlation between owners that say their dog is bell trained and the dog having accidents in the house.
Yeah.
Because they're not staying on top of it. They're not looking for the signs that the dog needs to go. And frankly, most of them don't understand how to train the bell to teach the dog to go outside.
That's a very good point.
Right? So, how do we start to teach that? This is the question, right? If you do want to use a bell, how do you teach? Actually, let's go back even a little bit further. How do we teach a dog to let us know that they need to go outside in general, right? Let's say you get a new puppy in, right? A lot of people want to know this, right? I think a lot of people make it up in their mind that the dog should automatically know how to tell us that they need to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
But we have to train these cues in, right? So how do we do it? We do it through something we refer to as free shaping, right? Okay. What is free shaping? Free shaping essentially means we incrementally reward things, free shaping as well as, I'm going to throw out another keyword for everybody to learn today, successive approximation. What does successive approximation mean? Successive approximation means we're incrementally rewarding steps along the way to the actual thing that we want the dog to do in order to get them to figure it out more quickly, right? We use free shaping to do so, which means that we don't actually coax the dog into doing anything. We just wait for them to do it automatically and then reward it, right?
Okay.
So, how do we do this, right? First and foremost, we need to figure out what we want our cue to be. Let's use sitting next to the door to go outside as it, right? Yeah. So what do? First thing we do is we start looking for signs that the dog might need to go to the bathroom, right? That could be a little bit of excessive pacing. That could be whatever, right? The second that they start doing it and walk past the door, what you're going to do is you're going to get up and go let them outside. Even if they don't actually have to go, if it looks like they're just walking by the door, go let them outside. Repeat that step over and over and over again throughout the day until you start noticing a more deliberate, the dog looking for that sign over there, right? Yep. They start walking over to the door. They start hanging out by it. And every time they do that, you're going to go let them out. Now, little by little, you're going to ask for a little bit more. So instead of just walking past it, we want them to walk past it and come to a stop. Every time we see that, we let them outside, right? Then we start waiting for them to make a conscious decision to go sit by it and look at us, let's say. Then we start rewarding for that by letting the dog outside, right? Because again, going outside is the reinforcement for this.
Yep.
Little by little, what we're going to do is say we want it to be the dog sits by the door and barks at us, right? So we wait for the dog to sit by the door, and then they sit by the door, and then they whimper. Then we let them outside. Then that whimper turns into a little bit of a chirp, and we let them outside. Then that chirp turns into a bark, then we let them outside, right? And little by little, you start teaching them, even if they don't actually need to go to the bathroom, when they do these things, or they do this particular thing, that's going to mean that they get to go outside, right? Now, you could start to add the bell in once you have that. You could start to add the bell into the equation by, once you have that part established of the dog sitting by the doorway, you hang your bells by the doorway, right? And what you do is, before you let the dog outside, when they're sitting next to it, you walk over there and you get them to touch that bell, right? You can use a treat to lure them or whatever you want and take them outside.
Yeah.
Then you incrementally will wait until they make a motion towards the bell. Then they let them outside, right? Then you wait for them to bump it. Then you let them outside. Then you wait until they do that entire sequence of going over there, hitting the bell, let them outside. And you essentially demand that they do just that if they want to go out there. And you wait them out until they do it, and you teach them that cue, right? And once they make that correlation, then you kind of have it taught, right? And it's a long process for some of these dogs. But if you're efficient about that early on, it's going to gain you a lot of headway very quickly, right?
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem with the bell. I think as long as you're not using it as an excuse for not needing to pay attention to your dog, it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So